Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, introduction of commissioners and staff, starting with you.
Charlie Yoka, Waterford, alternate city member.
Vito Chiesa, Stanislaus County, regular member.
Bill O'Brien, public member.
Terry Withrow, county member.
Amy Bublak, city member.
Sue Zwallen, city member.
Jamie Yeagers, alternate public member.
Javier Camarena, assistant executive officer.
Sarah Lytle-Penny, executive officer.
Sean Whitehead, county counsel.
Jennifer Vieira, commission clerk.
All right, everybody's present. Okay, we have public comment. This is time set aside for you to fill out a speaker card and or come up afterwards. We do only have one card and it is 3 minutes. Milt?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, ladies and gentlemen. Milt Treeweiler, I'm a lifetime Stanislaus County resident. I like to think that we learn from the past, we live in the present, and we plan for the future. There's not 1 acre of farmland in some entire states and even countries as good as the farmland in the proposed Riverwalk project near Riverbank, or as the farmland in the area north of Turlock, or as the farmland in the areas all around Ceres, Houston, Modesto, and unincorporated Salida. Stanislaus County's farmland can grow food for hundreds of years because of the soils we have here, and the water we have here in our TID and MID districts, and the climate we have here in our county. There is an abundance of poor soils and wasteland in California and our nation for the developers to build houses on, like the Altamont Pass area, the area east of Oakdale. There's also the large landmass areas west of Patterson along Interstate 5 and east of Fairfield along Highway 12. We have the entire states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and New Mexico for the developers to build on. Please remember that almost 1 million acres of farmland in the Central Valley south of Stanislaus County will need to be fallowed because of a lack of water. By working together, we must stop the sprawl in our Stanislaus County cities. We must grow up and not spread out. We have an opportunity to achieve this goal. The state recently passed 2 landmark bills, AB 130 and SB 131, that give developers new statutory exemptions for infill housing development projects of up to 20 acres in our cities. The farmland areas in the MID and TID districts are already fully economically developed. They're being utilized to produce food for our state, our nation, and the world. This land can produce food for our children and future generations for hundreds of years. The primary function of LAFCO is to shut this senseless growth down. We know that creating a food desert in Stanislaus County would be a terrible idea. We must be good stewards for our children and descendants, since they cannot plan for themselves. They can't do it for themselves because they're too young or they haven't been born yet. Today, it's our responsibility as adults and parents to make good decisions for our children and our descendants. And it's your responsibility to save farmland because you are the LAFCO board members. Very important. We need to take this seriously and we need to start today. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who did not fill out a card who wishes to speak at public comment? Okay, sure. Public comment. Not for a specific item?
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, then we will close the public participation portion and move on to correspondence.
Yes, the commission has before them 2 pieces of specific correspondence related to agenda item 6A. One is a letter from William Ross dated yesterday, and then another is an email from Curtis Haney received this afternoon. And that's all.
Thank you. All right, for declarations of conflicts of interest and disqualifications, looking, hearing, seeing none. Okay. Consent items, there are 4 items here. If everyone's looked through them, or is anybody in the public that wanted to have a discussion on one of these items? All right, what is the will?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, motion?
I have a question
Yes.
on item D, sorry.
Okay.
I should jump in faster. On page 1, there are 2 columns, the year and the total number of acres. I was wondering if it would be possible to add a 3rd column that might show the total number of acres where surface water between MID, TID, and OID is available, just so they can get a feeling for
This is item 5B?
consent 5D,
D, I'm sorry, okay, got you.
the total irrigated lands.
We can look into that. Generally, the data was just giving us irrigated lands flat out and didn't have it by district necessarily.
No, not by district,
But-
but total acreage.
Right. We can look into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, since she talked about that, anybody wishing to add any comment to that? Close the public comment, bring it back. We have a motion on the floor for a motion to all consent items.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in agreement, say yes. Or aye, whatever you want to say. And against, say no. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you. We have a public hearing now on Sierra Point.
Good evening, Javier Camarena with LAFCO. The item being discussed this evening is LAFCO application number 2025-02, Sierra Point Change of Organization to the City of Oakdale. The project is a request to annex 304 acres to the City of Oakdale for the Sierra Point specific plan. The project is located adjacent to the City of Oakdale and within the city's sphere of influence. The site is located south of Highway 108/120, east of Orsi Road, and north of Sierra Road. And the following slide is just an aerial, just to give you a better idea of what's located out there. There's a subdivision here along Twildo Road, unincorporated. There's some ranches, farmland, single-family homes. Just the slides there to give you a better idea of what's located out there. In 2014, Oakdale approved the Sierra Point specific plan, associated environmental impact report, and pre-zoning of the project site. Earlier this year, in March, the Oakdale City Council approved minor amendments to the specific plan, which included a general plan amendment and addendum to the EIR. The minor amendment included modifications to the specific plan. These changes were related to land use, mobility, and realignment of roadways within the plan area, directing stormwater to dual-use parks and storm drain basins, and the inclusion of a conceptual phasing plan. The specific plan will accommodate new development of 890 dwelling units, 1.6 million square feet of mixed commercial uses, and 19 acres of parks and open spaces. When considering a change of organization, the Commission must consider several factors as pointed out in Government Code Section 5668. These factors feature items related to proposed services and facilities, effects on agriculture, and consistency with government code. Discussion of these factors can be found on pages 2 through 8 of the staff report. As far as services, the following table shows the current and future service providers for the project site. The city has indicated that it is able to provide sewer and water services to the site and will address and expand its facilities as needed with each phase of the development. So as you can see on this first column is the service, next column is the current service provider, and the last is the service provider that would provide services after annexation. Which leads into my next slide regarding fire protection services. The city is proposing not to detach from the Oakdale Fire Protection District. Commission policies generally prefer detachment from districts upon annexation to a city. However, exceptions have been made when there is an existing agreement between a city and district that provides for shared revenues and continued service. The city and district have a revenue sharing agreement that states that the city will not request detachment of any annexation area without written consent from the district. A copy of this agreement can be found in Exhibit C of the staff report. Also to note, in 2015, the Commission approved the Crane Crossing change of organization to the City of Oakdale without detachment from the Fire Protection District under the same agreement. Both the city and district agree not to detach from the district. The following slide is kind of just to explain the slides that follow this. This is a slide of the farmland soils that are out there according to the state farmland monitoring and mapping program. The area is made up of 64 acres of prime farmland, 12 acres of unique farmland, 4 acres of farmland of statewide importance, and the remaining 224 acres are identified as other types of land, including grazing land, rural residential, and existing urban lands. LAFCO's agricultural preservation policy states that the commission may consider approval of a proposal if there is sufficient evidence demonstrating the following. First, that there is insufficient alternative land available within the existing sphere of influence. Next, that development is imminent for the proposed area. Next, that the loss of ag land has been minimized based on an agricultural preservation strategy. And last, that the proposal will result in planned, orderly, and efficient use of land and services. The city's plan for ag preservation states that there are no alternative lands available within the city's boundaries that meet the objectives of the proposed annexation. The specific plan also includes a provision of 1-to-1 agricultural mitigation consistent with LAFCO policy. And last, the city's 2030 general plan anticipated development of the Sierra Point specific plan area as part of the overall build-out of the city, and has been identified as a key location for economic growth, employment, and housing needs for the city. Pursuant to CEQA, the City of Oakdale prepared an EIR and addendum for the Sierra Point specific plan, which addressed the proposed annexation. LAFCO, as a responsible agency, must consider the environmental documentation prepared by the city, and if approved, the commission must make the findings related to the EIR, addendum, and statement of overriding considerations. Should the commission approve the proposal, the annexation will be subject to protest proceedings. Further details on protest proceedings can be found in the staff report and in Government Code Section 57075. And staff's recommendation can be found on page 12 of the staff report, which includes approval of the project, and Resolution 2025-11, which makes the appropriate CEQA findings, approves the annexation, and directs the executive officer to initiate protest proceedings. That concludes my presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Questions for staff? Go ahead.
Can you remind me on the ag mitigation policy, there's 80 acres of the 304, is it the full 304, 304 acres?
The requirement in the policy is that they mitigate for what we consider the important farmland, so that'd be prime and then statewide importance. So
what's the difference between prime and statewide importance?
So prime consists of characteristics of the best quality, so the best soil with water availability. Statewide importance is sort of like the next level. It's not as good soil quality as prime, but still able to produce what California considers to be like the top growing crops in California.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
And then it goes down from there.
I figured it had to do with critters. Trying to, wetlands or something else.
Definitions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitions.
He's got it in there too, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I'd like to see slide 7 again, just to, for my own information. Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just, Sarah, real quick, what was the confusion with regard to detachment versus no
Right, so-
detachment? There was a couple different letters, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so the application came to us proposing to not detach from the fire district. When we referred the project out for comments from agencies, we received an email response back from the fire district with some slight confusion. I think they interpreted it as that the application was proposing detachment. So at the time, the response that we received from the board member from the district stated that the district, would not be in support of detachment. So it was kind of saying the opposite
Right.
of what the application was actually proposing.
And
So
then-
we received clarifying letters both from the city and then from the legal counsel for the district.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Oh, one more question, and I'm sure this is down the road, but with the residences that are already on the property, ultimately, do we know what would happen with them?
So private property, there's a resident out there that chooses not to develop or be part of the specific plan, they would remain. It's really up to the private landowners out there if they're willing to be part of the development or not. And there are some, of course, there's a portion of it that is the proponent's property that is interested in developing.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll open it to the public this time. I suppose we should start with the applicant, if you'd like.
Madam Chair, members of the LAFCO Commission, John Anderson, J.B. Anderson Land Use Planning. Hey Terry, how are you doing? Representing the City of Oakdale here tonight on this very important annexation. Gosh, we've been working on this thing for quite some time to try to clean up some work that was done back in 2014, and what you see tonight is the effort of many years and many meetings and whatnot to try to clarify a lot of things. One of the things for me that's unique about this project that you don't see on a lot of projects is that we've got an existing neighborhood out there. Mayor's Walden hit right on it, that as a result of this project, these folks currently have a septic system. They don't have a curb gutter and sidewalk. They don't have a bona fide storm drain system. This project is a commitment from the developer. We'll be going in there and improving that Twildo Road, Twildo neighborhood at no cost to those property owners. It's a commitment that's been made by the project proponent. So that's very unique. In my mind, it's a good way to kind of resolve some issues where you might have an infill area that doesn't necessarily have the funds that are capable of making those type of municipal improvements. So that's very, very critical. There's been some communication, I think, that's been delivered to you tonight regarding the Oakdale Airport, the Oakdale Municipal Airport. That issue's been addressed in more than one area. In the specific plan, there's specific language that was presented as part of the county's review for the ALUC, and we're in compliance with that. There's a couple minor things that we have to do as it relates to the height of the structures and whatnot, but we're in compliance with the county's ALUC plan. We've got acknowledgement of that. It's in your staff records, and that was part of a correspondence that was issued back in 2022. So with that, we've got representatives here from the City of Oakdale and also from the fire. They're here to address any specific issues you may have, but the intent is the services would be provided by the City of Oakdale, which is what Mayor Walden was asking about. We're here tonight to talk about this project. I know that Dave Romano, as the applicant representative, is also here representing Randy Thomas. So if there are any questions of me at this point?
Doesn't look like it at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Romano, did you want to speak next, sir?
Thank you, Chairman Bublak, members of the commission, Dave Romano on behalf of Mr. Thomas, who's been the applicant for this project since about 2012. It took about 2 years to get a specific plan prepared and ready to go. The city council adopted it. They were updating their general plan at the same time, so they came to LAFCO in 2015, asked that this be added to the sphere. It was added to the sphere. It's actually in the general plan with all the appropriate land use designations, but a request for annexation wasn't made at the time and waited. So Mr. Thomas picked it back up in 2018. We've been working to resolve the issues. We're happy to talk about any specific issue that's raised today, whether it's from private well issues to what happens to non-conforming uses, to negotiations of using OID water in our parks so that they don't lose surface water rights, to what's going on with the fire district, which has been resolved. This is a non-detached situation where the city has an existing agreement with the fire district, so they're able to preserve revenue between the two agencies. We also have the 80 acres. We're already in agreement with the California Farmland Trust for the value of that in lieu fee. That's in place and ready to go once we get this project moving forward. There's really not a lot unique about the project. It's a pretty typical project. You can see there aren't really any permanent crops out there. The land is kind of rolling in nature. It's kind of hacked up, so it took Mr. Thomas a long time to kind of combine enough pieces to make it viable for him, but he's been able to do that. This project will realign Stearns Road, which is currently an offset. We've already met with Caltrans. The initial plan was that that was going to be a traffic signal. We were excited about the prospect of a traffic signal. Caltrans was not. That's going to be designed as a roundabout now, so if you get a chance to drive up the hill to Sonora, you'll see there's a new roundabout at the casino. Caltrans is trying to put roundabouts wherever they can on state facilities, so that's in process. The city's been working with StanCog on those issues, so I could really go on, but more in response. If there's an issue of concern to the commission, please let us know. We'll do our best to respond to it. If an issue comes up in the public comment that you would like our input on, we'll be more than happy to do it. I think your staff's done a good job in walking through the issues and resolving the issues. So we're here to ask for your approval, and we appreciate your time and your staff's time. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Did the fire department wish to speak, or just wait just in case? I guess you did. You laughed.
Good evening. Clint Bray, representative for the Oakdale Fire District. We totally support the project, knowing with our partnerships with the City of Oakdale that we've been in since 2015, and we'll continue to work with the city on moving this forward. Thank you.
Okay, we have two cards. We'll start with Clarence.
Hello, Commission members. My name is Clarence Team. I live on Twildo Road, and I have a couple of questions. I did email LAFCO and CC'd Mayor Barrios and never received a reply, which I was a little disheartened by. And one of the questions was about the fire protection. And my question is, does the City of Oakdale, do the residents there pay an assessment or a fee additionally for their fire service? I believe it's no, but I'm not positive. And my question is, if we're going to be annexed into the City of Oakdale, and I believe that the last few times the fire department has responded to Twillo Road, it has been from Oakdale. So we're already receiving services from Oakdale. Why are we going to continue to pay a fee to Oakdale Rural Fire Protection District? We are being double taxed, so to speak, for services that are being provided to us by the City of Oakdale, or will be provided for the City of Oakdale. And the people who are in the current boundaries of Oakdale don't have to pay that same fee. I see some inherent unfairness in that. The other question is about water. Several studies that I've read, one of them from Stanford said we're sitting on top of one of the most stressed aquifers in the state, and we're going to put a lot of residences there. And I think that water use is going to be much higher than the orchard that we live next to, because they were using very smart irrigation. I think the water use is going to go there. We are on a private well. We had to have it deepened, and I'm afraid if you put all those houses in there and increase that, we're going to have our well deepened again, and it's not cheap. Once again, I think that is a major concern. Also, my background is in EMS. I was paramedic for 30 plus years, almost 40 years, EMS administrator for 15. The question of fire department has been addressed, but the question of ambulances has not been. And I know they have ALS fire departments there, but there are times when transportation is the most urgent thing. Trauma, OB complications. Our ambulance is going to be coming all the way from across town into an area in which we're going to have a much larger call volume, a lot more traffic, and that's going to increase the response times, and it's also going to increase the workload. As a governmental district, Oak Valley Hospital District, I don't think they were included in the questions on how this is going to impact their district, their governmental entity, particularly the ambulance service they provide. So I would like to have that addressed. There needs to be another ambulance station on the east end of town, not only to increase call volume, to deal with increased call volume, but also increase response times. And also, if OID, it says water will be provided by OID and the City of Oakdale, who do we pay? Do we pay OAD? Do we pay the city of Oakdale? Do we pay both? Once again, questions about fairness and being double billed, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. The other card is for Justin.
Hello, my name is Justin Labadie. I live at 506 Orsi Road in Oakdale. I'm actually right across the street from this. I look out on all that property. So I wanted to get some concerns out on the table because my understanding is that if I don't do it now and I have to take action later, I can't do that. So let's go through them. I've got OID irrigation. I don't want to lose that. I want to make sure that that remains available as is. I'm looking at a loss of property value because of where my property is and the fact that part of the value is the view of those rolling hills and the mountains. You know, and the rural landscape out there. I'm worried about traffic. It's going to increase the traffic massively. Light pollution at night. Right now the skies are fairly dark, but it will not be that way. Disruptions during construction, which I experienced when they put the subdivisions in next to my house. I experienced 10 years of nonstop problems with that, with the two developers that did that project. I was told I could not drill a new well when my well went dry because of what you heard already about orchards going in and so forth. And I don't want it to go dry again. It's going to be expensive. The farmland, that's prime farmland. Yeah, it's hacked up. Yeah, you know, they're running cattle on it. But I can drop a seed on the ground in my place and it just grows. So there's a real impact from that. I think the existing property owners are going to see impacts from this like I did. Difficulties getting well permits, irrigation, having livestock, the rules change when you're in city. Septic, there are just a lot of things that are going to change. Potential for crime increase. I didn't really see anything about adding police. That's a lot of people. The environmental impact report, which I did read from 2014, I read it back then and read it again. That's a long time ago. I mean, is that still good? Is that still what representative? I don't know. I think the final thing is, you know, I moved to Oakdale to be in a more rural environment, and that's being taken away. It got partially taken away already for me, but it's going to be taken away for all those property owners. And the quality of life goes down. That's, you know, we didn't ask for this subdivision. None of us who live there asked to have this built. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, were there any other people who wanted to speak on this item? Yes, please go on.
Can you put the, hi, I'm Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Williams, and we live in the sphere. We're one of the holdouts. We haven't sold.
Not the aerial?
Yeah, what that shows the zoning, please.
Oh.
I think it was like your third or fifth page. I didn't write it down, but anyway, we went to the city of Oakdale. See the gray in the middle, kind of towards the top off of Tooldo there where it says high density? Yeah. That was changed at the city of Oakdale meeting. And when we went through everything that you had posted online for this meeting tonight, it shows that that was changed to very low density -4, and I think that had to do with the phase. The 4 had to do with the phase. So anyway, I want to make sure that that goes down that way, if it's going to go down at all tonight, please, because we are right next to that, and we would appreciate it not to have an apartment complex built next to our 2.5 acres. Where is the water? And so do you have a copy of that so we can make sure that gets on record that this is not the zoning that you're approving tonight?
We're not approving any zoning. We're just, if the commission makes an approval, it'll just be for annexation. The zoning and all that was, the pre-zoning of this area was done at the city.
Well, okay, this isn't what's being annexed, just as you're reading it there. So I just thought we needed to clarify. We were told that that was not high density right there, and it was moved to the other side. See the yellow side where it says those swap. So I don't know how important it is to have it listed that way, but to us it's very important. Where's the water coming from? Are we pumping it out of the ground? Is it groundwater? And they're drilling a well? When we read through a lot of the paperwork, that it was they were drilling new wells to provide for the water supply. Somebody want to answer that?
We'll get all these, we have tons of questions here. We're going to go back.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'd like to know the groundwater. I think it's wonderful that they're willing to annex Twildo, because we're just, like I said, on the other side of them. Even when everybody else was losing groundwater well during the last drought, our well did not go dry. Praise the Lord, it didn't. But it's very nice that the developer is offering to annex the Twildo properties into the water supply. And if this development causes our well to go dry, we would like them to pay for us to annex into the water as well. Because we've been able to survive over 30 years there with several droughts and never lose water. So it will be because of the development that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Mr. Romano, you want to try this?
Sorry, Chairman, and I usually wouldn't get up until the questions, but Mrs. Williams is absolutely correct. Okay. And so HDR1 and VLDR4 were switched. And so this is an older version of the map. All of the city maps, the ordinance that was adopted, we reviewed the resolutions, but this was actually a topic of conversation at the Planning Commission, and it was worked out, and so she is correct. And so we've got the city planning director here, we've got their contract planner. She is right about those two land uses. So I, on behalf of Mr. Thomas and at least my team, want to assure her that those land use changes were made, and when it goes into the city, those two land uses will be switched. So, thank you for that.
Sir, you had your hand up. Come on up.
Can you put up the plan for ag preservation points? Good evening. My name is Curtis Haney, and I first want to acknowledge the great responsibility and gravity that most people never feel like you guys have, and the implications of it. I'm here specifically to address this proposed annexation from an aviation perspective. My name is Curtis Haney. I grew up on a cattle ranch outside of Oakdale, and an Oakdale citizen currently, a former city council member and lifelong resident of this great county. I am an airline pilot by profession with the qualifications of airline transport pilot, commercial pilot, certified flight instructor, and advanced ground instructor. Like many of your airline, air ambulance, agriculture, police, and military pilots, I began training as a boy at Oakdale Airport under exceptional mentors. I am here to warn against the Sierra Point residential annexation, a proposal I warned against as a council member when I heard rumors of it that would have generational impact. Please review the handout I provided. I can answer questions and address that at the end of this, and include it in the minutes and public record. And let me know if you have any need any form of further formalities to record that. Oakdale Municipal Airport Master Plan and Layout has been kind of pushed aside and ignored, along with what many of us in the aviation perspective, based on precedents and what we've seen in the past, common sense has been pushed aside on this. I question the consulting firm's review and their allegiances. Basic city planning principles and hard-learned lessons show residential development should not encroach into or underneath the traffic pattern of an airport. This devalues homes, reduces quality of life, and develops inevitably noise complaints. Previous council meetings saw also strong public opposition to this annexation. As a citizen of Stanislaus County, we urge you to amend tonight's agenda for consultation, further consultation, and also with the Association of California Airports regarding the airport traffic pattern, departures, and arrival encroachment. As an air ambulance, flight instructor, business aviation, and recreational pilot, I have flown in and out of well-planned city developments. This is not one. We can correct this and avoid a legacy of regret for this commission. Thank you for hearing me out, and I just want to point out on those handouts, you guys have any questions for me, because they may or may not make sense to you.
So could I just ask the question then?
Sure.
What we were presented from, you said you think their allegiance is wrong. What do you see wrong with the consultant for the annexation?
Well, we know that development, governments, city planning inherently looks to grow and push projects through. And so my belief is their allegiance is to making sure that happens, rather than considering some of these other considerations that are serious and I don't think have been properly addressed based on what we've seen. You can see, for example, on the screenshot that the corner of the development is 0.65 nautical miles from the end of runway 10. Approach path using a 3-degree glide slope, which is typical in aircraft, you're at 207 feet. In the middle of the development there, at 0.8 nautical miles, you're at 254 feet. There's some additional information on that in the event of an instrument approach needed on the stormy days, but that just gives you an idea.
That's if they're coming in, because of prevailing wind, right? They normally take
Right.
off from east to west, and that's if they're
So,
coming from.
yeah, prevailing winds from the west.
Yeah.
So departures will be prevailing going out of runway 28 over the development at high power settings. When the winds switch, that's the altitudes that a typical aircraft will be when you're straight in. There's different altitudes out there on the base leg and downwind legs.
Thank you.
There's the sign here, attention to pilots. That is an existing sign based on the existing development that's already there, that's farther away, asking pilots to kindly consider a different flight path, which we as pilots may or may not, it may not suit the operation for the day or the conditions. So that's based on an existing development, old one that's even farther away. So I'd like you to consider and imagine what that would be with a development 0.6 nautical miles and 0.8 nautical miles from the end of runway 10.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Brian Moorhead. I live at 78 South Stearns in Oakdale. I bought my house about 25 years ago, lived there since 97. I made it from Escalon all the way to Oakdale. My question is, what's the benefit of this plan other than just expanding this town or making the town larger? What's the real benefit? Because to me, if it was my planning project, I would want to reduce the traffic or that's going to happen in Oakdale. Because if anyone drives or lives in Oakdale, the traffic is already awful, especially Highway 120. You know, that's a single lane road going out of town once you hit Mac for the most part. So now, and I know there's other roads that are coming in or whatever, but wouldn't it make more sense to have the bypass that they've been talking about plugged in before we develop across the street? Those are my things. I don't really see what the benefit is. They mentioned something that's just rolling hills and not really, but it could be farmed. But the only benefit is for the landowners, who are gonna get quite a bit more money than what they pay for the property after it's developed, right? So it's really just a benefit for a couple people, and the rest of us kind of just have to suffer through it, you know? And so my big things were, what's the benefit? Yeah, we're gonna get curbs. Yeah, we're gonna go on the city water. Yeah, we'll have sewer, but we don't, I mean, that doesn't matter to me. You know, I mean, granted, I like having a field across the street from my house and be able to look at the mountains, right? I like being able to pay OID $300 and some odd a year and for my water, right? So I like all that stuff, and I'm not against the development. It just seems like it's a little rushed. I mean, even though it's been in process for, what, 11 years or 14 years. Why hasn't it been approved already, I wonder? But anyways, to my point is traffic congestion. It's going to be a nightmare in Oakdale if you put all that stuff in there. Without some sort of roadway easement or something, addition, multiple lanes going in or out of town on the highway, expand the highway or something, at least out past Womble, if you're gonna put all those people in there. And one roundabout at South Stearns and Highway 120, that's not gonna, I mean, good luck. We already have to go back down Stearns to Sierra and take a right and go Mag just to get out on the highway as it is now on a weekend. You can't even get out on the road from South Stearns unless you want to take your life in your hands, you know, because people drive super fast. Now, I would like it to be patrolled by Oakdale Police Department so people quit driving by my house at 60 miles an hour and when it's 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'd love to have some speed bumps out there, you know, but to me, it just seems rushed, and all the other concerns that the other land or homeowners have out there, I echo those. You know, where's the water coming from? We already had to pay OID, because I'm on committee for ID 22. We already had to pay OID to stick our pipe down further into the ground just to get water. Because one of the pipes, or one of the pumps wasn't doing anything because the pipe wasn't down far enough. So we already had to pay for that this year. So, I mean, I want to keep a well. I don't want to be metered, obviously. I don't want to pay City of Oakdale for sewer and water and garbage because it's going to be more than what I pay now. But that's just selfish. To me, it seems like even in the light of development, this doesn't feel like the right time for it. I think if the bypass were to be, let's do the bypass up to Womble or wherever that's supposed to go. Let's get that in, so that all the people from the Bay Area aren't already clogged into Oakdale, and then we're gonna put this development, we're gonna do Sierra Point with another high density, you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, it's just a lot of people coming in with not much improvement to the roadways. That's my biggest concern as a homeowner and resident of Oakdale, okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? No?
And everything Milt said, I agree. I echo Milt as well.
Thank you. I'm not against developments. I'm not against building houses. I'm only against building houses on the best farmland in the world. Bringing people here to Stanislaus County is the wrong thing to do. And you're going to learn that because, first of all, I told you they're fallowing almost 1 million acres just south of Stanislaus County. That's all the way down to Bakersfield. So almonds are going to have to come out down there. This is perfect almond planting area. I know that I did say that east of Oakdale is a good place, but I mean in the areas where it's not this area here, farther east. But okay, let's not go there. Every time I come to a meeting like this, I do hear the very same story. First of all, the developers have been planning this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't care if you've been developing it for 50 years. The farmland, once it's gone, it becomes a desert. It becomes a farm desert. And bringing in more people from the Bay Area is not benefiting us at all. They have the Altamont Pass area. You've got thousands of acres there. You have the area just to the east of Fairfield. That's all junk land up there. You can't grow anything up there, and they don't have water up there. It's perfect for houses. Build the houses on the other side of I-5. I mean, you also have all the land area just to the west of Patterson. It's already been approved. I also look at the land and you think, I hear, again, I do hear the same stories every time, but ag land mitigation is a pure myth. It's not going to save any ag land because eventually it'll just be gobbled up again. We need to do like we declare this, Stanislaus County, the areas in TID and MID and possibly OID are like Yosemite. You don't ever do anything with them except grow crops on them. Throughout the world, the land is drying up. The earth is getting hotter, whether you want to believe it or not. You look at any chart and it's gone up continuously for the last 25 years, and it's not going to stop. That's going to continue for the next 100 years. So we need to let the developers move to areas where it's not taking up prime farmland or any farmland. Basically, stay out of Stanislaus County. You might be able to find some stuff on the west side of I-5 by Patterson, all along there you could find stuff. How about Del Porto Canyon? Build houses there and bring the water from Patterson or from Sykes Reservoir, which eventually will be built, and that will provide water. You can get water rights from that area. So we need to save our farmland, and this is the time to do it. So that's what we want to do, save our farmland. Thank you.
Anyone else who hasn't a chance to speak? Okay, yes, come on.
I was waiting.
That's okay.
Hi, my name's Kathy McCaskill. I live at 2012 Road. I understand that development is imminent. Oh,
thank you.
That we don't really have a choice because you're the ones that are going to make the decision. But the city of Oakdale, like he said, the traffic is horrible. There's no school planned out there. The school district in Oakdale is already overflowing with students. My little nieces who live on Oak Street go to a school there, and all the teachers are saying that all the classrooms are full. So where are you going to put 900 houses? There's no, the parks that they're putting in aren't adequate. The Parks and Recreation Department in Oakdale said that they don't have enough ballparks. The developer hasn't really said that he'd be willing to donate any land for the parks, except for when he found out there was a wetland use and they're going to do like an open area. So bike paths, parks, school. As my husband stated, ambulance. We're both in the medical field. I'm a nurse. And for our ambulance to get across town, it's too far. They need to put an ambulance station out there also. And fire. And also, as he was saying earlier, we are double taxed on that as far as we pay a fee for our fire on our income tax. So I think that that needs to be addressed too, because I'm sure that they're not going to want to give up their fee that we pay. We have a rental in town, and our rental in town on Melva, we don't pay a fire tax on it. We just pay a regular tax. So, and it adds about $300 per house, what we're paying to the fire district in Oakdale. So again, the roads need to be fixed, and the land use needs to be looked at. We need to have another school out there. We need better parks and more baseball diamonds for the kids. We need bike paths that are going to get our kids from that area into town because it's not safe. You cannot ride your bike down Stearns Road or Highway 120. D Street did a great job of putting a bike path in. We have to get in our car, take our bikes across the highway to get on the bike trails in Oakdale. Because if you don't, you will be ran over. I don't know if any of you live in Oakdale, but you have to understand the traffic there is horrible. So 900 more houses in a rural area where a lot of the little people, you know, we have 2 acres, we have goats. They have 2 acres. There's people that have cows, 4-H project. The one developer who came in and bought all the little small ranchettes is now pushing for this development. It isn't really the city of Oakdale, but it's the Thomas man. Richard Thomas. So he's the one that's came in and bought all these little ranchettes up on a, what is it, when you buy something and then you say you're going to buy it at a later date, so it's like 10 years. lease option to buy. The 10 acres next to us is a lease option to buy because I've talked to the owner. So they're already tied in. So that's my only thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person who hasn't had a chance to speak? Okay, we'll go back to either Mr. Anderson or Mr. Romano. You guys, do you have some rebuttal to some of these questions? Did you want to?
Yes, Madam Chairman, members of the LAFCO Commission, again, John Anderson representing the City of Oakdale tonight. It's my understanding that some of these concerns that are being raised tonight weren't necessarily shared either at the Planning Commission or at the City Council. Obviously, the City Council looked at this in detail. There were some issues being brought up tonight that I think in the documentation that we have presented to you tonight, both in the specific plan, the original EIR, and the addendum, they're appropriately covered. So I'll try the best I can to address the issues that have been raised that I can handle. First has to do with CFD for fire protection services. It's very typical in an urban setting. Most of the cities have adopted maintenance CFDs for things like police and fire. Those obligations occur when you develop pieces of property. So if you have an existing home, existing site, that you have an existing house, you don't intend to divide it further, that obligation doesn't carry forward to you on that property, so there's no sense of double taxation. However, if they do subdivide the property, then I assume as a condition of that land division, they'll be asked to annex into the maintenance CFD for the City of Oakdale for that purpose. Ambulance service right now is provided by Oak Valley. I'm not aware of Oak Valley's plans to create an ambulance service center within this general area, nor can I specifically speak to what their response time is. I can say that they were actively involved in the review and administration of this project, and I should probably just leave it at that. Let me see here, what else?
Water.
OID water's a thing. Irrigation, the irrigation lines that are out there now will be relocated. Anybody that's receiving irrigation services to date will continue to receive irrigation services. That's a commitment that we make, that a developer would make, as they proceed with their development project itself. We're not in the business to cut off irrigation rights to any individual property owner that's currently receiving irrigation water, either for a garden head or for bona fide agricultural purposes. As it relates to municipal water, City of Oakdale's municipal water system relies on groundwater wells. They're going to evaluate the need for another municipal well in the area to provide service, and that's all evaluated under a document called a water supply assessment. The city's under obligation every 5 years to update and present to the state of California and also to their residents themselves. Can't really talk about loss of property value. The City of Oakdale does not have a dark skies ordinance, so certainly with the development of the project, there will be streetlights, lighting of public ways for police protection and other public safety. Those lights will be directed towards the subject, towards the street, or towards whatever that public open space is. But definitely there will be a lighting impact to an area that didn't have urban lighting. There's no question about that, and that was evaluated in not only the 2014 environmental document, but the updated addendum that was prepared as part of this presentation to the City Council. So that document was finished in 2024. So it was an update to the earlier environmental document.
Farmland loss?
Yeah, farmland loss is an issue that we deal with, obviously, with any urbanization within the Central Valley. The commitment is that you mitigate, and the mitigation as provided or allowed by the state of California and specifically by local regulations is participation, either replacement individually or participation with the California Farmland Trust. And apparently that's what the applicants have chosen to do for their mitigation for long-term ag loss.
increasing crime or more?
I'm not sure I can really talk about increase in crime other than the fact that the city's police department was, again, an integral part of this overall evaluation, and they have service rates and whatnot that have to be provided. Maybe Jeff Gravel can talk about that in greater detail, but my understanding is they're capable of providing that service, and that's their intent.
EIR, was it updated?
That was part of the addendum that was done as part of the 2024 documentation before the City Council's presentation of March of 2025.
Aviation.
Schools. Again, anytime we deal with a project like this, a school district is part of the responsible agency that receives all the documentation on the project. The Oakdale Unified School District was provided the opportunity to comment. They'll be getting mitigation fees and whatnot as part of the development. But apparently they've chosen not to identify an elementary school in this particular project site, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. It really depends on what the school district feels is appropriate based on what's being presented to them.
The aviation issues?
Aviation. So that's an interesting one. I'm not a pilot. I don't object to the comments that are being made by the individual who obviously is a professional in that regard. But we have policy documents that we rely on. Those policy documents are updated. The ALUC plans, I think for the county, were updated just a few years ago, I think like in 2010 or something like that. And then they have a group of aeronautics experts that work with them to update those ALUC plans. This project was evaluated against the ALUC plan. We've got documentation in the record from the county reviewing this project according to those ALUC plans and policies, and we're in compliance. So if that plan needs to be updated, perhaps that's the process that needs to take place to evaluate additional concerns that are being raised by Mr. Haney. But in any event, that clearance is in the documentation. It was a correspondence and also an acknowledgement back from Kristen Dowd, I believe, at the county back in 2022, an evaluation of this particular project, which is interesting because the original specific plan was approved back in 2014. It had to go through ALUC then at that time, and then again it went through the ALUC process again back in 2022. So it's gone through at least 2 reviews from the ALUC Commission that's administered by Stanislaus County. So and both of those reviews came up with very minimal impacts to the airport and specific requirements that have to be met, which have been folded into the specific plan itself.
Benefit to the residents that are there?
It's new development. What are the benefits to the existing property owners? Probably not much. I mean, obviously, if they've been looking at blank fields for 20 to 30 years, not much of a benefit to them. The only benefit I guess I can suggest is now they have a water system that has fire hydrants that are available. You have better local roads in that general area, and additional funding source to help support police and fire in that area for the new residents, and that'll be part of a maintenance CFD that I talked about earlier. So anyway.
Bypass? How?
Bypass, well, as some of the board members are already aware, the first phase has already started, or will be, actually, they think they broke ground. So this area will be part of phase 2 or 3. Can't remember. Phase 3. Phase 3. I'm seeing 3 fingers. So it's going to be some time before we get to that phase 3. That phase 3 alignment is actually is considerably south of this project area, and ultimately it will tie back into Highway 108, 120. So,
why wasn't it approved already?
Why wasn't it approved already? Well, so the specific plan was approved as part of a package of the general plan back in 2014. There were a number of issues with the plan having to do with open space and wildlife with Adams Creek. circulation issues, storm drainage, that required kind of a retooling, if you will, of that plan. That plan went through that process probably starting in, I would say, 2016, and then more recently in earnest, getting it back into some kind of a cohesive document back in 2022, and then ultimately re-presented to the City Council back in 2025. So that's what I have. And then maybe perhaps Dave Romano wants to talk about a couple items as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah, a couple of things. With respect to the fire fees, the rural fire districts, a lot of them have these rural fire districts. I live in Consolidated Fire. I see that direct charge on my property taxes when they come. And most cities in Stanislaus County do not have a fire fee. So one of the reasons that there's an agreement between the city of Oakdale and the Oakdale Rural Fire District is so that revenue, when these properties develop, does not go away. So the whole point of the agreement is that if you're a landowner in the city, you do not currently pay a fire fee. If you are not part of Oakdale Rural Fire District, if you live in Oakdale Rural, you pay that fee. So as this property annexes, it doesn't bring an additional fire fee from the city of Oakdale. It just continues to pay what it's paid historically. So Oakdale doesn't want to lose that revenue, so that's kind of the concept behind it. And that's why the letter, and that's why the agreement. And so I don't know that there's any double dipping because Oakdale does not bring a fee. So I think that's important to know. The Twildo area is actually on one of the really old Oakdale Irrigation District improvement districts. And if you go out the East Oakdale corridor, you know all of those areas, those 3-acre lots and Atlas and Dixon, and all of that area is served by the Oakdale Irrigation District. They're in the water business. They're not very excited about being in the water business, but they are. This is a little single water district with one well that serves Twildo. And if that well goes down, that little neighborhood has to pay for a brand new well. Oakdale Irrigation District is excited about the prospect of actually moving that onto city water, where you have a robust public works department that makes sure that it's properly managed and properly cared for. And so that's part of the developer's obligation ultimately, is to make sure that that transition occurs at no cost to the landowners. As long as that well continues to operate and there's not an issue, but if that well goes down, it's important that there's an option to connect that to city water. With respect to the airport, you know, we face these airport issues in a lot of places. There's an Airport Land Use Commission. These projects get referred to the Airport Land Use Commission. There's a map for every airport in the county. It has identified all of the different zones. When we developed Eastgate in Ceres, there was a little sliver of that was in one of those zones, and it affects the densities that you can develop under. And so this area has been outside an area that has development restriction. It continues to be outside an area that has development restriction. The Oakdale General Plan recognizes that. The Airport Land Use Commission recognizes that. Their letter to you from 2022 recognizes that. Certainly if I was a pilot, or if I would like less development is better, and the farther away from you are, but we have this commission to kind of exist between us to help us resolve those issues. And finally, I just want to mention the issues about schools, bike paths, and parks, and maybe if you could pull up the land use plan while I'm mentioning this. So we went and talked to the superintendent of the Oakdale School District, because this plan had lingered for a while. It had been moved into the sphere. Mr. Thomas at the time had not pursued annexation. You know, we still had not recovered from the market, and now that we're kind of seeing some recovery, it was time actually to move it forward. So we went back to the Oakdale School District and we said, hey, this plan is getting a little bit old. Are you interested in an elementary school site in here? Should we plan for an elementary school site in here? And the superintendent told us no. We do not have a plan for a school site in here. There aren't enough units for a school site. We will work with you through a fee program on maybe we add a wing at another elementary school. But we were told that they did not want a school site within this area. I'm not the school planner. I'm not going to force a school upon a school district. They do their planning. They know where they need their schools located. But we were very clear with them that now was the time. We've continued to have dialogue with them. I probably talked to the superintendent 2 or 3 months ago as we think this project is moving forward. But they said that they did not want a school in the area. The plan is parked to the city standard. It has parks to the city standards. We've added that these parks are going to be served by Oakdale Irrigation District water. The city and Oakdale Irrigation District have that arrangement that we can actually use surface water so we don't have to extract that irrigation water out of the ground. And most cities are moving in that direction. Helps us preserve the groundwater. The parks are adequate size. They meet that standard. And finally, if you look at kind of slicing through the plan at an angle from southeast to northwest, that's the PG&E power easement. It kind of looks like the Hetch Hetchy easement that runs through the city of Modesto. It's big, it's wide, it's got these towers. And if you go north of the highway over by the Saddle Club, from there to the river, they've actually done a nice bike trail path underneath there. The city worked with PG&E to put that in. And so in this plan, it will be continued. And so I know one of the owners was concerned about paths and parks and how that was going to work. And so this is going to mirror that. So it's going to continue to give more methods for pedestrian access, bike access, getting up to Lando, and Jay, I think it's Jay, getting over to the school. So I just wanted to address those issues. I'm happy to answer any more, but I think that those were important just to briefly cover because we really spent a lot of time in making sure they were covered, and the city made sure that we had them covered as well. So anything else from me, I'll be happy to answer it.
One that I'm not sure if it was addressed, but Clarence mentioned the sitting on a stressed aquifer, and if the well needed to be deepened, that would be very expensive. Maybe you address that in your water.
Yeah, so the city has not only an urban water master plan that they have to update every 5 years, they have their water master plan, they have to comply with the GSP, which is groundwater sustainability plan. The aquifer has been analyzed. OID had comments about it. We actually communicated with OID and they were not overly concerned. The city is in the process of constructing a well. I believe, Mr. Gravel can correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've got a well site north of the highway that they're actually working, and then this will add a well maybe halfway through the development. There's kind of a trigger for a well down here. But all of the analysis that was prepared in the environmental review and all of the city documents says that that fits within the rules that they review and analyze. So I'm not going to question them. They're much more expert at that than I am, but thank you.
Chair? Yes.
Can I correct something that was said that was inaccurate?
Certainly.
Thank you. One of the men said that this was not brought up, the airport was not brought up to, I believe that's what I heard him say, the Planning Commission and City Council. I carried this message to both the Planning Commission and the City Council. Also, there is on paper, and then there is airport neighborhood reality. I think we all know what airport neighborhood reality, how it actually plays out. And then additionally, at the properly planned cities and county annexation partnerships, you will see industrial and commercial around airports. That is how it's properly done. And when it's not done that way, heartache is coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back for some discussion here.
May I also make a correction?
One more time, here we go.
It was said that I brought up some new subjects such as ambulance response, fire, water, and that is incorrect. I spoke at both the Planning Commission and at City Council. So this is not new, this is not blindsiding. This was stated twice by me in a public forum as it should be done, and apparently they weren't listening.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to close public comment, bring it back. Some discussion or thoughts? Go ahead.
It's a game of chicken. All right, so just so everyone has a clear understanding that I think I voted no on 3 of the last 4 annexations for differing reasons. Generally because of either the amount of land, because we're looking at 10-year windows for annexations. And they should be able to build, and then 20 years your planning window or your sphere. And they've met that. If you're not familiar, in Stanislaus County, we have Measure E, and it was passed back in 2008. It's a 30-year land use, which really doesn't allow any more growth in the unincorporated area in communities like Denair and Keys and Valley Home, LaGrange. I'm trying to think, that wasn't in their community plan prior to that election in 2008, which is smart, trying to push growth into the cities where they can better handle police services, fire services, ambulance service, for that matter, than in the unincorporated area. Because I live in the unincorporated area out in the middle of nowhere, I accept responsibility for fire protection. It's going to take longer for all of those issues. So it's just something that I always like to bring up, that we want growth. The interesting component is it comes down to things that, like water. We're talking about water and OID serving, having to meet the groundwater sustainability plan, the GSP, on how much water, because the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act allows people to take a gallon out of the ground, and there's an expectation that there's going to be recharged a gallon. So we have some time, a couple of decades, to get to equilibrium, but people can't wait for 10 years for that fact. They got to start making changes today. And the plan, the Modesto and Oakdale Irrigation District, Modesto Irrigation District, are still working on their plan. There's still some disagreement on how to do that, but anyone that's outside of an irrigation district is going to struggle. This happens to be in where there's still irrigation area, where there's surface water rights. But there's got to be this rollover for cities. Riverbank and Oakdale would be good suspects to get on surface water from their local surface water agency, like Turlock and Ceres did, like Modesto did many years ago. So those are just a few thoughts. I am a farmer, so I'm pretty cognizant about ag mitigation. Ag mitigation does protect 50% of the ground. It doesn't mean that it's in this area, but it's going through one-to-one mitigation. You probably were around for the fight of that, and it was a big step in the right direction. Houston has a 2-to-1 mitigation, and which is considered like the gold standard. So the agreement to mitigate this on a 1-to-1 basis, it's interesting because we do try, and Milt has been very outspoken recently about pushing these to lands that are not productive. Just about any acre of land now is productive these days, but it's not the Story Index. It's how you measure the prime soil. They give a rating from 1 to 100, and so you can grow more crops on the better soils, but you can grow crops on just about any soil now with the right irrigation system. Water is the limiting factor. East Oakdale is considered less, I think, 80 acres. I was asking that question because some of it, there's the creek that runs through it, and there's lots of good things that come with creeks, recharge basins, but there's 60-some acres, which is about 20% of the total land that is considered prime farmland, and then there's the additional. So it's better than where it is in Riverbank. It's better than it is in Salida. It's better than what it is in Houston, where I live, where it's just about all prime soil. So going east, like in East Modesto, the soils are less desirable than they are in West Modesto. And we've got this development that was, started up in Diablo Grande, one of the great area where we wanted to put houses. It was a discussion before my time, actually. Bill was on the Board of Supervisors. And now we're struggling with probably the biggest single issue we have is trying to get water up there at a cost that's not $500 just to pay for the debt that has been accrued there. So there's no perfect situation, and we think we can create a perfect situation, but it's not that easy. So as I look forward, this is a little lower quality soil, ag mitigations improved. They are meeting the obligation of the 10-year development, because they've been really suspect about cities annexing too much land, because it takes a lot of time and effort, you can see, to get through an annexation from beginning to end, trying to mitigate the issues that come up, and there are continually issues, and the state puts more roadblocks in front. And I think that there's not a lot of land available for housing and inside of the area of Oakdale. I think they've done a pretty good job of planning. I'm not specifically talking about this annexation, but they haven't done any overgrabs. I can point at some other cities that have more than a 20-year inventory of land currently under their jurisdiction, and we have to be more cognizant as LAFCO about doing that. I consider this logical and orderly. There are definitely going to be impacts. Mr. Haney, you talked about the airport. If you land in the wrong direction, there is going to be an impact. I would agree, because I see it at Modesto Airport all the time on those days when the prevailing wind changes from the south. They come in low, not that low, not 250 feet, but fairly low. There will be traffic impacts, as there are with any subdivision. There are going to be impacts. But again, this meets the logical and orderly growth that I'm typically looking for in an annexation, and I'll be supportive of it.
Right down the road. First of all, I think the City of Oakdale responded to most of the questions very adequately. I'm happy to see the cooperation between the City of Oakdale and the Oakdale Fire Protection District. That cooperation not necessarily existed, not saying between these two agencies, but different agencies in the past, so it's very nice to see that cooperation. I think some of the benefits of this annexation are going to be police services, getting Oakdale Police to respond. I see there's no detachment of OID, so those OID water will still be available if those people wish to continue getting it. Schools will take care of schools. We know that. And I think Supervisor Chiesa touched very eloquently on the ag. This is, for the most part, lesser quality lands out there. And so I will be supportive of this annexation as well.
No comments, thank you.
I will support it. It looks, it's right up against all other residential, so it makes sense, and as the term was used, it seems logical to me.
Vito kind of summed it all up pretty good. You know, these things are always hard. Change is hard. None of us like it. I totally understand the concerns of the people that are living around this as this happens. But it is, as Milt said, we want these things to happen. We want them to happen on the lesser soils. These are the areas we want to push these things to, these developments and these annexations, the growth to happen in that direction. And it's been a long process. Back to 2014, I look at this, Dave, and I think that Salida looks like a walk in the park compared to this. Salida is a development that's been that's looking to happen. It's one of the housing developments that was approved before Measure E was voted on and came in place. So it's a Salida community plan is an area that houses can be built without in the county without a Measure E vote. And so so anyway, like I said, when I see this one, how long this took, I think a lot of thought and effort has gone into this. And I will support this project.
I have a question regarding where you start as far as building. Would it be plausible to begin your development with approval, but knowing that you can have more conversation about the airport, because it might not be the first spot you start at?
Chairman, yes, and if the rules change by the time we get down to the south. So the project's going to start up at the north. The infrastructure is available at the intersection of realigned Stearns and the highway. That's where the water's going to come from. That's where the sewer's going to come from. It's going to come down. Stearns Road needs to be realigned with Phase 1. So Stearns will be between GC1 and GC2. It will come down, and the first development will be in the vicinity of MDR1, that HDR1 that is now VLDR1 because we got that land use wrong from Mrs. Williams, LDR1 and that Park 1 that's a park basin. So that first development's going to be kind of up in that northern segment, then it's going to work its way either down from there closer to the airport. But just so you kind of understand, and in answer to your question, yes, it is going to go probably from north to south and then kind of spread out from there. So,
Dave, can I just real quick before you?
Sure.
So if one point I wanted to make, and I just want to make sure I understood this: the area up above the development that's already there, the houses that are already there to the north, basically a county pocket is what we would look at this.
yeah,
as kind of-
Area 8. So if you look at Area 8, that's basically a county pocket. And they're 1 and 2 acre ranchettes. They're on this old OID water system, and then they're all on septic tanks.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's something as a county, we've been trying to eliminate these county pockets for decades. And so that's actually a good thing, you know, sewer, water that will now be on city sewer, city water, as I understand it. I don't know if they have septic out there right now. These will then be converted to city sewer. So
They are, yeah, all of that is true. It won't be day one, but it will be, the project will be generating. So for Mayor Zwollen and Modesto example, we're developing in Tivoli. We have these two enclaves, Lydia and Jeffrey, and they have, one of them has 8 or 10 houses and one of them has 30 or 40. And the development in the CFD is actually collecting the revenue to make sure that we can get sewer in there and water in there. And as your county members know, that's always kind of the fight, right? The city doesn't want to take the island until it's brought up to their standard. The city's not willing to bring this island up to their standard, so it falls on the developer to generate some revenue, and we transition it over time, and we make all of those available, city water, city sewer, and bring the road up to a better standard.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, Dave, I cannot go to sleep tonight without asking for some clarification.
Sure.
On this particular question. As you know, I served as an emergency room nurse for 42 years. So I want to know if there has been conversations with Oak Valley Hospital and the hospital district with the potential, particularly in the emergency room, about the additional patients and the ambulance. Their capacity may need to increase.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't answer that question. So I know that Oakdale loves their hospital district, just like Patterson loves their hospital district, right? And they're looking at things to do. So the city
it was
refers
suggested
it.
that possibly they were not included in this planning.
I will let all the planners respond to that, but
Okay.
my assumption is everything that's done in the city of Oakdale gets referred to the hospital district. They are a legal district. They would be on your referral list. They would comment. They would get the EIR to review. They would, and then LAFCO, I believe, they're on their referral list too.
I guess, it would
And
be
so-
directed to Sarah if that hospital district was included in this
Yes.
process.
Yes.
They were.
Yes, they're considered an affected district, but also not detaching like the other districts. So it would still all be within Oak Valley Hospital District. And they're allowed a comment period just like all the other districts.
All right, thank you.
If I could just comment on Oak Valley Hospital. Living in Waterford, Oak Valley Hospital and the ambulance serves Waterford. I routinely see their ambulance posted on the Oakdale-Waterford Highway, halfway between Oakdale and Waterford. I get comments from people, why are they out there, messing around, or what are they doing? They go, they're getting closer to us in case something happens, an emergency, because they'll be there. Being a retired police captain, they understand that. And so Oak Valley Hospital's been very good. The ambulance service, has been very adequate and comes out to Waterford, and I'm sure that given this new subdivision, if they need to stage one of their ambulances closer to that area, they'll do that, just like they do for Waterford now.
Is there anything you wanted to add, sir?
I was just mentioning that this is probably as a result of him doing municipal service reviews on them, that we believe they do have an assessment, which in that case, they would also be getting increased revenue from that area, from the new homes and new parcels created.
Okay, if there's a motion to be made, make certain that we speak to the PowerPoint 15s, because that is displayed appropriately for the VLDR and the HDR transformation. Anybody? Is there a motion?
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve all staff recommendations.
Do we have a motion?
Second that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against, say no. It passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on to other business, there is none. Commissioner comments? Looking,
I just have one comment.
Yes, sure.
I did take the Cal LAFCO webinar number 1 last week, and I'm also enrolled to take the second webinar in early August.
easy? Not hard to get on and everything?
No,
Outstanding.
it was painless.
Nothing for the additional matters? Executive officer?
Yes, the next step, by the way, in that Sierra Point project will be a protest hearing, and that'll be conducted by staff. So all those that are within the annexation area, registered voters and property owners will get a chance to potentially protest the annexation. Speaking of the Cal LAFCO U, there is another opportunity for a webinar on August 7th. If you're interested in that, it's regarding the Brown Act. Let Jennifer know and she'll get you signed up. We're anticipating getting some Cal LAFCO conference materials, hopefully this week or next week. The conference is set for October 22nd through the 24th. That does overlap our LAFCO meeting, which is not yet canceled, and we don't anticipate canceling it. But we'll be sending you materials and potentially seeking interested persons who want to attend or not. August 27th meeting, we have an MSR for Denair Community Service District and an out-of-boundary in the Keys area. We also have a couple more annexations on the horizon, one for Keys Community Service District and one for City of Modesto. So we'll have a busy few months.
All right. With that, next meeting will be on August 27th, most likely.
Yep.
We're in adjournment.